It took one man to destroy one of the biggest football clubs in the world. In just 5 years, Josep Maria Bartomeu caused FC Barcelona's downfall by leaving them with 1.35 billion euros in debt, signing expensive signings who failed to live up to expectations, and losing big players like Lionel Messi, which quickly sent the club into hell. It all started with Sandro Rosell, the guy who planted the root that would later grow into Barcelona's downfall. Before Sandro Rosell, Joan Laporta was the president of FC Barcelona from 2003 to 2010. Barcelona thrived on a strong footballing identity, emphasizing youth development and a sustainable approach. The real trouble began in 2010 when Sandro Rosell became president. He changed how Barcelona thought about success. Instead of caring about winning matches and developing players, Rosell cared more about making money. For over 100 years, Barcelona kept their shirt clean. No sponsors, no logos, nothing. In 2006, they finally put something on it, the UNICEF logo. But Barcelona wasn't getting paid for this. Instead, they were paying UNICEF 1.5 million euros every year to help children around the world. This showed that Barcelona cared about more than just money.
For the first time in more than 100 years, the UNICEF logo will be worn by the legendary football club Barcelona.
We can really make a difference. And this is why we have decided to work with UNICEF.
Football club Barcelona will donate at least $1.9 million to UNICEF every year for the next 5 years.
But Rosell changed all that in 2011 when he signed a deal with Qatar Foundation worth 30 million euros per year. The UNICEF logo got moved to the back of the shirt, and just like that, Barcelona's tradition was sold for quick money. This wasn't just about changing what was on the shirt. It showed that Barcelona was becoming a different kind of club, one that would do anything for money, even if it meant forgetting what made them special in the first place. The Neymar transfer in 2013 showed just how much Barcelona had changed. The club told everyone they paid 57 million euros for the Brazilian star, but this was all a lie. The real cost was 86 million euros, which Barcelona had tried to hide by making secret payments to Neymar's family and creating hidden deals that helped the club's president and other officials make money. When people discovered these lies, everyone was mad. Spanish authorities started investigating, and the scandal was so bad that President Rosell had to quit in 2014. But the Neymar deal wasn't the only problem. Rosell also started ignoring their youth academy called La Masia. In the past, under coach Pep Guardiola, Barcelona's best players came from this academy. Players like Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets and Pedro all grew up learning Barcelona's style of football. But Rosell didn't care about developing young players anymore. He just wanted to buy expensive stars from other teams, and because of this, fewer young players were making it to Barcelona's first team. However, Barcelona was still winning games during that time, but behind the scenes, everything was falling apart. They were spending too much money, making bad decisions, and losing their identity. By the time Rosell quit in 2014, the damage was already done. He had created problems that his replacement Bartomeu would make even worse. Rosell planted the seed of Barcelona's problems, and under Bartomeu, that seed grew into a disaster that nearly destroyed the club. This is where it begins. Josep Maria Bartomeu, the man who would take Barcelona's problems and turn them into a full-blown disaster. When he became president in 2014 after Rosell quit, Barcelona fans hoped for change, but instead they got something much worse. Bartomeu wasn't new to the club. He'd been working closely with Rosell, learning all the wrong lessons about how to run Barcelona. While fans dreamed of returning to their football-first philosophy, Bartomeu was more interested in making money than making history. At first, everything seemed fine. In 2015, Barcelona won everything: La Liga, Copa del Rey, and the Champions League. Their attacking trio of Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, MSN, was terrorizing teams across Europe. Fans were celebrating, and Bartomeu was looking like a genius. Behind the trophies and celebrations, Bartomeu was making decisions that would eventually break the club. He spent money like a drunk tourist in Las Vegas, buying expensive players without any real plan, offering crazy salaries, and ignoring the warning signs that Barcelona was heading for trouble. The worst part, he had the perfect chance to fix things. Barcelona was making more money than ever before. But instead of using this money wisely, Bartomeu and his team kept making bigger and more expensive mistakes that would soon come back to haunt the club. Everything really started falling apart for Barcelona in the summer of 2017. This was when Neymar decided to leave. Behind the scenes, Neymar wasn't happy. He was tired of being seen as just Messi's teammate and wanted to be the main star at a different club. That's when Paris Saint-Germain saw their chance and paid 222 million euros to sign Neymar, which was considered the most expensive transfer in football history. Barcelona couldn't do anything about it because this was Neymar's release clause, a fixed price in his contract that allowed him to leave if any club paid it. Barcelona never thought anyone would actually pay this much money for a player. They weren't prepared for Neymar to leave, and suddenly they lost one of their most important players. Instead of using this huge amount of money wisely to rebuild the team, they panicked, and their panic would lead to some of the worst decisions in history. With Barcelona having 222 million euros to replace Neymar, they rushed to sign a young talent, Ousmane Dembélé, for 105 million euros up front, with an additional 40 million euros in add-ons. Dembélé was only 20 years old and had just finished a great season with Borussia Dortmund. His speed, dribbling, and creativity made him one of the most exciting young players in Europe. But he was still very young and had only played one full season in Germany after leaving Rennes in 2016. Barcelona expected him to fill in Neymar's shoes, but his career got off to the worst possible start. Just a few games into his first season, he suffered a serious hamstring injury that kept him out for nearly 4 months. Over the years, he would suffer multiple muscular problems, missing key matches and never being able to maintain consistent form, leaving Barcelona still searching for a replacement. In 2018, they signed Coutinho for 120 million euros and 40 million euros in add-ons, making him Barcelona's most expensive signing. But was he worth the money Barcelona spent? Not at all. He didn't even work out and became a huge flop. The thing is, Coutinho was primarily an attacking midfielder at Liverpool, but at Barcelona he was often deployed on the left wing, a position that didn't fully utilize his playmaking abilities and struggled to find his best form. And just like that, 222 million euros all gone in 6 months. And did Barcelona find their replacement? Nope. Dembélé missed 141 matches because of injuries and fitness issues, while Coutinho was dropped to the bench after a year. Barcelona needed another attacker, and in 2019, Barcelona signed Antoine Griezmann from Atletico Madrid by paying his 120 million euro release clause. However, the transfer was controversial because Atletico claimed that Barcelona had secretly negotiated with Griezmann while his clause was still 200 million euros, demanding more money. Was Griezmann a great fit? Absolutely not. He was sold back to Atletico Madrid after 2 seasons for just 20 million euros, a huge loss compared to the 120 million euros Barcelona originally paid for him. Coutinho also left after 4 seasons to Aston Villa for around 20 million euros, another huge loss for Barcelona for what they paid. Following, Dembélé leaving for 50 million euros to PSG. This was such a huge waste of money and dumb business from Barcelona. But the one to blame is Bartomeu. He knew nothing about football and was more of a businessman, more like a dumb businessman because he blew all that money like it was nothing. It wasn't just on Dembélé, Coutinho and Griezmann. From 2014 to 2020, Bartomeu spent over 1 billion euros on signings, on players like Jeremy Mathieu for 20 million euros, Andre Gomez for 35 million euros, Malcolm for 41 million euros, Arda Turan for 34 million euros, Nelson Semedo for 35 million euros, Paco Alcácer for 30 million euros, Paulinho for 40 million euros, and many others who didn't really play. It wasn't just the ridiculous transfers that were hurting Barcelona, but the wage bill that Bartomeu was giving out to the players was just too much. It even got so out of control that it reached over 600 million euros per year, making it the highest in football history. The club was spending more money on salaries than it was making, which led to serious financial problems, but Bartomeu did not care at all. Samuel Umtiti was making 200,000 euros per week, spending most of his time injured. Coutinho was making over 400,000 euros per week sitting on the bench or out on loan. Even aging players like Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba were making 400,000 and 250,000 euros per week, which was too much. Even Messi's 4-year contract worth 555 million euros was killing the club and simply just couldn't afford it. It wasn't just finances that were destroying Barcelona, but the performances the team was showing on the pitch were really poor. Even with one of the most expensive squads, Barcelona couldn't compete with Europe's top teams. Like in 2018, they faced AS Roma in the Champions League quarterfinals and won the first leg 4-1. Barcelona felt confident after winning 4-1 in their first game against Roma, but in the second game, everything fell apart. Roma scored 3 goals, and Barcelona couldn't respond. Barcelona was eliminated from the Champions League because of the away goals rules. The same thing happened again when Barcelona faced Liverpool. Barcelona won the first game 3-0 at home and seemed certain to advance. They just needed to avoid a big loss in the second leg. But at Anfield, Barcelona completely fell apart. Even though Liverpool was missing their best attackers, Salah and Firmino, they still managed to score 4 goals against Barcelona, winning 4-0. All thanks to Liverpool's defender Trent Alexander-Arnold, who took a quick corner kick while Barcelona players weren't paying attention. Liverpool scored from this play, showing how unfocused Barcelona had become. The worst humiliation for Barcelona came in 2020. In a single-game knockout match, Bayern Munich destroyed them 8-2. This wasn't just a loss, it was a complete destruction that shocked the football world. Before COVID-19 hit, Barcelona had big financial plans. They expected to make 1.059 billion euros during the 2019-20 season. This would have made them one of the highest earning sports teams in the world. But when the pandemic forced football to shut down, Barcelona's money problems got much worse. They lost about 203 million euros they'd been counting on. This dropped their actual earnings to 855 million euros. They lost revenue from ticket sales, museum tours, sponsorships, media, and TV rights. What did Bartomeu think of this? Well, he believed that once football returned to normal, Barcelona would recover financially, and he even continued making expensive signings like Miralem Pjanic in a swap deal with Arthur, despite the club's growing debt. On October 27, 2020, Bartomeu announced his resignation as Barcelona president, along with his entire board. But it was too late. Bartomeu had already done a ton of damage to the club. The team was in bad shape and left them with nothing. In 2021, Joan Laporta took over Barcelona and held a conference to show how bad the damage was that Bartomeu had done, and he also revealed their 1.35 billion euro debt. Barcelona's debt is one of the main reasons why they lost Messi. His contract was about to expire, and even though Messi was willing to take a big pay cut to stay, Barcelona still couldn't afford to keep him under La Liga's salary rules. In August 2021, Barcelona announced that Messi would be leaving the club. He was very emotional and teary at a press conference, saying it was hard to leave the club he'd been with for over 20 years, and would later join Paris Saint-Germain for free. After Messi's departure, Laporta had a lot of work to do, and his first move was to cut Barcelona's bloated wages. He convinced players to accept lower salaries and sold others to reduce costs. He moved out expensive players like Griezmann, who was loaned to Atletico. Pjanic was loaned to Beşiktaş and got Umtiti to take a payout. Laporta needed quick money to keep Barcelona running. So, in the summer of 2021, the club made a big decision. They sold 10% of their La Liga TV rights for the next 25 years to an investment company called 6th Street for €207 million. This gave Barcelona the cash they needed right away, helping them register new players, pay off debts, and avoid even bigger financial problems. However, it also meant giving up future earnings for short-term relief. He had to find a way to deal with Barcelona's massive debt. To keep the club running, he worked with banks and lenders to get new loans and spread out the payments over time. This meant Barcelona didn't have to pay everything at once, giving them more time to fix their financial problems and stay afloat. He had to rebuild the squad without Messi by bringing free agents like Memphis Depay, Sergio Aguero, and Eric Garcia. They also signed Ferran Torres from Manchester City in January 2022. He also focused on La Masia to rebuild the team, with young talents like Pedri, Ansu Fati, and Gavi to become key players. In 2022, Barcelona signed a big sponsorship deal with Spotify. As part of the deal, Spotify became the club's main sponsor, and the stadium's name was changed to Spotify Camp Nou. This partnership helped Barcelona earn a lot more money and improve their financial situation. Laporta's plan wasn't perfect, but it brought stability. In just 2 years, Barcelona went from financial chaos to winning La Liga in 2023. But the problems weren't completely solved. The club still had massive debts, and the financial levers, selling TV rights and other assets, helped in the short term but could cause problems in the future. As of today, Barcelona is performing well under Hansi Flick. Their future looks very promising, having a high chance to win trophies again.